Lauren and I got married when I was 25. We had been together since college, one of those couples everyone assumed would last. Her mother, Pauline, never liked me. Not in a dramatic way, more like she treated me as a placeholder. Every holiday, Pauline made comments about how Lauren could have done better, how her friend's son Jonathan was a dentist now, how Lauren settled too young. Lauren never once told her to stop. She would laugh it off, and I told myself that was enough. We lived in a two-bedroom apartment under my name because Lauren's credit was wrecked from student loans. I paid rent, utilities, car insurance on both our vehicles. Lauren worked part-time at a chiropractic office doing front desk. She covered groceries and her phone bill. I never complained because I figured we were a team. 3 years in, around October, I made the final payment on her 2019 Hyundai Tucson. Years of budgeting, skipping things I wanted, putting off replacing my own busted laptop. I paid it off on a Thursday and felt genuinely proud. That same weekend, I was on the couch using Lauren's iPad because mine was dead, opened the browser to pull up a recipe, and her Reddit account was logged in. The browser opened to her profile. That was the last tab she had open. I saw a post from 2 days earlier in a relationship subreddit. She called me a pathetic, spineless loser who would never amount to anything. She said she faked every smile and every compliment. She wondered how much lower she could sink before finding a real man. Then I read the comments, where she was laughing with strangers, adding details about our private life, mocking how I got excited about paying off the car loan, calling it sad that I treated a basic responsibility like an achievement. I screenshotted everything, every comment, every reply. Then I closed the browser and sat there for about an hour. Lauren came home from getting her nails done and asked what I wanted for dinner. I said I didn't care. She ordered Thai food. We ate on the couch and she laughed at something on the TV, and I looked at her thinking about her typing those words on that same couch 2 days earlier. I did not confront her. I made a decision that I was going to dismantle the comfortable life she built entirely on my back, and she would have zero safety net when it happened. I gave myself a timeline. 3 months. First, I mapped out how dependent Lauren actually was on me, and it was worse than I realized. The lease was solely my name. Both car insurance policies under my account, her phone on my family plan, internet, streaming, renter's insurance, all me. She had maybe $800 in her checking account. Her mother, Pauline, had a paid-off house but lived on fixed income, constantly asking Lauren to send money for random things, which Lauren did using cash from the grocery budget I gave her. So even the help Lauren gave her own mother was technically funded by me. I spent the first month getting my situation airtight. New checking account at a different bank, started routing portions of my deposit there. Not enough for Lauren to notice, just enough to build a cushion. I contacted our landlord and asked about removing myself from the lease. Since Lauren was not on it, if I gave 60-day notice and vacated, she would have to apply independently. With her credit and part-time income, that was not happening. Lauren acted completely normal during all of this, kissing me goodbye, texting me during work, telling me she loved me before bed. I checked her Reddit periodically by searching her username. She kept posting. One post in November asked whether it was wrong to stay in a marriage purely for financial stability. The top comment told her she was using me, and she replied with a laughing emoji and said she preferred the term strategic patience. I screenshotted that too. Then something changed the entire scope of my plan. Lauren's brother Benjamin called me on a Wednesday while Lauren was at a coworker's birthday dinner. Benjamin and I always got along fine, nothing deep. He asked me to meet him at a gas station near his apartment. He told me that at Thanksgiving, after I left early to cover a shift, Pauline told Lauren she needed to start preparing an exit because I was never going to make real money and Lauren should find someone with actual prospects while she was still young. Benjamin said Lauren agreed and told Pauline she had been posting about it online. Pauline told her to be careful but keep going. Benjamin said he sat there listening and felt sick because I helped him move twice and lent him $400 he never paid back. Now I had the full picture. This was not just Lauren being unhappy, this was Lauren and Pauline actively strategizing my replacement while I funded everything. Pauline was coaching her daughter to extract maximum benefit from me while keeping one foot out the door. I adjusted my plan. Leaving was not enough anymore. I needed both of them to understand exactly what they lost and feel it in every part of their daily lives. The apartment, the insurance, the financial scaffolding, all disappearing on my schedule with no soft landing. By January, I had my safety net built and started consulting a divorce attorney. Lauren had no idea. Her latest Reddit post asked how to hide assets before a divorce. She had 17 upvotes. I am typing this from my own apartment now. Lauren and Pauline have been calling nonstop for 48 hours. I have not picked up once. Update coming soon. February and March is where everything went down. Man, this dude sat on that couch eating Thai food, watching TV with a woman who 3 days earlier described him to the internet like he was a stray dog. She was too lazy to drop off at the shelter. And he just chewed his pad Thai and started building a blueprint. That is a level of emotional discipline that honestly scares me a little. Most people would have thrown that iPad through the drywall and had the worst screaming match of their lives by 9 p.m. This man ate his dinner, went to sleep, woke up, and started running his marriage like a decommissioning project. And okay, I need to talk about strategic patience, because that phrase is going to live rent-free in my brain for the rest of my life. She literally branded her own exploitation of another human being, gave it a LinkedIn title. That's not venting about your marriage. That is someone who has fully dehumanized their partner and turned the relationship into a resource extraction operation. She wasn't unhappy. Unhappy people cry, unhappy people go to therapy, unhappy people leave. She was comfortable. She just didn't respect the source of that comfort. And Pauline, running a whole coaching program from her paid-off house on a fixed income, a house she maintains partly with money that flows from this man through Lauren. The audacity of sitting at Thanksgiving dinner strategizing how to replace the guy who is literally subsidizing your grocery money through your daughter's allowance. That's not a mother protecting her child. That's a consultant who doesn't bill because she takes payment in control. Benjamin, though. Benjamin is the real one. That man owed $400 he never paid back, and he still showed up at a gas station on a Wednesday night to blow the whistle on his own mother and sister. That's someone whose conscience weighed more than family loyalty, and honestly, in this story full of people performing love while feeling nothing, Benjamin might be the only person who actually cared about this guy. Update 1. All right, I'm back. A lot of you asked for more details, so here it is. Go read the original post first if you haven't. By the end of January, I had my finances separated, a divorce attorney retained, and Lauren still had zero clue. She was posting on Reddit about being trapped in a dead-end marriage while I paid for the roof over her head. But a lot of you probably assumed I just served papers and left. That is not what happened. I needed Lauren and Pauline in the weakest possible position before I made a single visible move. First, I found out through Benjamin that Pauline had been pressuring Lauren to get her name on our apartment lease. Pauline's logic was that if things went south, Lauren needed legal standing to stay. Lauren brought this up one evening in early February while I was making pasta. She said it would make sense for both names to be on the lease, for practical reasons in case anything happened to me. Framed it like she was doing me a favor. I told her sure, I would look into it. I had no intention of doing anything, but now I knew Pauline was coaching Lauren on housing strategy, which meant Pauline understood the lease was a vulnerability. Good. That confirmed my timeline. The second thing was bigger. Lauren's Tucson needed brake work, about $1,100. She came to me and said she didn't have it. 4 months earlier, I would have paid without thinking. Instead, I told her I was tight on cash and suggested she asked Pauline. Lauren looked at me like I had said something insane and told me Pauline didn't have that kind of money. I said I couldn't swing it right now. This was the first time I ever said no to Lauren on money, and you could see it register. She got quiet and went to the bedroom. She called Pauline that night. Benjamin texted me about it an hour later. Lauren told Pauline I was acting different and refused to pay for the car repair. Pauline told Lauren this was exactly why she needed to speed up her exit plan, because I was starting to check out and she needed to secure her position before I became financially useless. Benjamin sent me a summary. I saved it. Now the complications started stacking. Lauren could not afford the repair. She started taking rides from a coworker named Catherine, who worked at the same chiropractic office. Catherine picked Lauren up 3 or 4 mornings a week. Within 2 weeks, Lauren was coming home later than usual on Thursdays and Fridays, saying Catherine wanted to grab food or hit some store. I did not care where she was going. What mattered was that Lauren was now dependent on someone else for transportation, which meant when I pulled the next piece out, she would have even fewer options. In early March, I submitted my 60-day notice to vacate the apartment. Certified mail to the landlord's office on a Monday, while Lauren was at work. Lease termination set for early May. Lauren had no idea. She was not on the lease, and the landlord had no obligation to notify her. I also called my insurance provider and set a cancellation date for Lauren's policy on the Tucson, effective the same day. My account, my policy, all legal. Same week, I moved about 60% of my clothes and personal items to a storage unit I had rented in January. Did it gradually, a duffel bag at a time, on days Lauren worked. She didn't notice because I left enough in the closet to look normal. Then March 14th. Lauren came home from Catherine's around 9 p.m. on a Friday and sat next to me on the couch. She said she had been doing a lot of thinking, that we had been distant, and maybe we should talk about where things were going. She said she still loved me and needed to know if I was still invested in us. This woman who called me pathetic online, who laughed about me with strangers, whose mother was actively coaching her to drain me, asking me if I was invested. I told her work had been stressful and everything was fine between us. She seemed relieved. She kissed me on the forehead and went to shower. I pulled up her Reddit account on my phone. Her most recent post from that same afternoon was in a dating subreddit asking how women transitioned from a dead marriage into a new relationship without a financial gap. Posted 3 hours before telling me she loved me. By late March, everything was set. Lease ending May. Insurance cancellation scheduled, finances separated, storage unit packed, attorney ready. Benjamin confirmed Pauline had started telling extended family Lauren might be moving back home soon, meaning even Pauline was preparing for what she thought would be Lauren's controlled exit on their terms. They had no idea the exit was on mine. Next update covers April, when everything blew up. The break repair moment is where this story goes from painful to almost poetic. This man spent years paying for everything without question. Rent, insurance, a whole car loan. And the very first time he says, "I can't right now," Lauren doesn't think, "Oh, he's having a tough month." She doesn't ask if he's okay. She goes straight to the bedroom, calls her mother, and Pauline's immediate reaction is, "He's becoming financially useless. Accelerate the exit." Not, "Maybe talk to your husband." Not, "Maybe he's stressed." Financially useless. That tells you everything about how these two women categorize this man in their minds. He was never a husband. He was a funding source with a heartbeat. And the second the funding hesitated, they started looking for the next ATM. And Lauren on March 14th, sitting on that couch telling him she loves him, asking if he's still invested, 3 hours after posting in a dating subreddit asking how to leave without a financial gap. I've seen some two-faced behavior in these stories, but that is genuinely Olympic-level compartmentalization. She's not even lying in the moment. I think she actually believes both things simultaneously. She loves the life he provides, and she despises the man providing it. And she has somehow convinced herself those two things don't contradict each other. But here's what I keep coming back to. Pauline telling the extended family that Lauren might be moving home soon. She was so confident. She thought she was running this chess game. She thought they were 3 moves ahead. Meanwhile, this man had already filed the 60-day notice, scheduled the insurance cancellation, packed a storage unit, and retained an attorney. Pauline was playing checkers and announcing her next jump, while this dude had already quietly checkmated her 6 moves ago. She just hadn't looked down at the board yet. Update 2. Okay, so April. A lot of you in the comments have been asking when the confrontation happens, and I promise you it is in this update. But it did not go the way I planned because Lauren and Pauline did something I did not see coming, and it forced me to accelerate everything by about 3 weeks. Early April, a Saturday morning. Lauren was in the kitchen scrolling her phone, and I was in the living room packing a duffel bag with more of my stuff to take to the storage unit later. She walked in and asked me why half the hangers in the closet were empty. I told her I had donated some old clothes. She stared at me for a long time and then said okay, and walked back to the kitchen. But I could tell something shifted. She started paying closer attention to the apartment that week, opening drawers, checking the bathroom cabinet, looking at the bookshelf. She noticed things were thinner. She did not say anything directly to me, but Benjamin texted me on Wednesday and said Lauren had called Pauline in a panic, saying she thought I was planning to leave. This is where Pauline made her move. On Thursday, without telling Lauren she was coming, Pauline drove 2 hours to our apartment and showed up at our door around 6 p.m. while I was still at work. Lauren let her in. When I got home around 7, Pauline was sitting at the kitchen table with a folder of papers. Lauren was sitting across from her, looking uncomfortable. Pauline told me to sit down because they needed to talk to me about the future of this marriage. I sat down. Pauline started talking. She told me that Lauren had been unhappy for a long time and that as her mother, it was her job to make sure her daughter was protected. She said she wanted me to agree to add Lauren to the lease and to put Lauren's name on my checking account as a joint holder. She said this was not about trust, it was about fairness, because Lauren had contributed to this household for years and deserved legal security. She said if I really loved her daughter, I would not have a problem with any of this. The whole time, Lauren sat there nodding along, not saying a word of her own, letting Pauline run the entire conversation. I want you all to picture this. The woman who called me a spineless loser online and the mother who coached her to drain me dry were sitting at my kitchen table in my apartment telling me I needed to hand over legal and financial access to make things fair. and they expected me to just agree. I told Pauline that I appreciated her concern, but that our marriage was between me and Lauren, and I was not going to discuss our finances with a third party. Pauline told me I was being defensive and that she was not a third party. She was family. I told her she was Lauren's family, not mine, and that this conversation was over. Pauline looked at Lauren and said, "See, this is exactly what I warned you about. He does not see us as his people." Lauren told me I was being disrespectful to her mother and that all she was asking for was basic security. I told Lauren that if she wanted to discuss our finances, we could do it privately without her mother present. Lauren said Pauline was there for support because she knew I would react this way. They went back and forth with me for almost an hour. Pauline kept pushing the joint account angle. Lauren kept saying I was shutting her out. I held my ground on every single point and gave them nothing. Eventually, Pauline said she was staying the night and would drive back in the morning. She slept in our spare bedroom. I slept on the couch because I did not want to be in the same room as Lauren. The next morning, Pauline left early. Lauren tried to talk to me before work and said she was sorry about how the night went, but that Pauline had a point and we needed to figure things out. I told her we would talk later. I went to work, and during my lunch break, I called my attorney and told him to file the divorce papers immediately. I was done waiting. The papers were filed that Friday. Lauren would be served the following week. But before that happened, I did something that I had been planning since November. I created a new Reddit account and posted in the same subreddit Lauren used. I did not mention her username. I posted a detailed summary of what it feels like to find out your spouse has been mocking you online for months while you pay for everything in their life. I included screenshots with all usernames and identifying details blacked out. That post got over 4,000 upvotes in 2 days. Lauren's original post started getting found by people who connected the dots through the blacked-out details I deliberately left partially visible. The subreddit, the timeline, specific phrases she used. Her inbox got flooded. People were dragging her in comments on posts she had made months ago. Lauren figured out it was me by Monday because the details were too specific. She came home and she was furious. She told me I had humiliated her in front of thousands of people. I asked her how it felt. She told me I had no right to do that. I told her I had every right because those were her own words that she posted publicly. She said she posted those things anonymously and I violated her privacy. I told her that anonymity does not erase what she said and that I read every single word she ever wrote about me. That was the first time Lauren realized I had known for months. She asked me how long. I told her since October. She asked why I didn't say anything. I told her because I wanted to see exactly how far she would go. She started crying and said I had been manipulating her this whole time. I told her I had been watching her manipulate me this whole time and the only difference was I took notes. Next update is the last one. Lauren got served the divorce papers 2 days after that fight. And that is when Pauline went absolutely nuclear. Pauline showing up with a folder, a physical folder of papers. She drove 2 hours with documents she had prepared in advance demanding this man sign over his checking account and his lease to the woman who was publicly shopping for his replacement. That is not a concerned mother. That is a hostile takeover attempt with a maternal disguise. She walked into that apartment like she was closing a deal, and the product she was selling was Lauren's continued presence in his life, as if that was something he should be grateful enough to pay extra for. And Lauren just sitting there nodding, not speaking, letting mommy run the negotiation. This is a grown woman in her late 20s who has never once in this entire story initiated a single difficult conversation on her own. Every move, every strategy, every confrontation, it's Pauline driving and Lauren riding passenger. She can't even advocate for herself in her own marriage without her mother sitting across the table doing it for her. She called this man spineless online, but she literally cannot function without her mother operating her like a marionette. But the Reddit reversal, okay, I have thoughts. Part of me is standing up applauding because Lauren spent months using that platform as her personal diary of contempt, feeling completely untouchable behind anonymity. And then her own words came back and swallowed her whole. She weaponized the internet against her husband and then was shocked when the internet turned around. And her defense was, I posted those anonymously, as if cruelty doesn't count when nobody knows your name. That's not how words work. That's not how marriage works. You don't get to publicly call someone pathetic and then claim privacy rights when they hold up the mirror. But I'm also going to be honest. The I wanted to see how far she would go line is ice cold. This man watched his wife post in dating subreddits, watched Pauline coach an exit strategy, watched his whole marriage become a performance, and he just documented it like a nature photographer filming a predator. He was right to leave. He was right to protect himself. But there's a part of this where he stopped being a hurt husband and became something more calculated than Lauren ever was. She was sloppy and cruel. He was surgical. and I don't know which one unsettles me more. Final update. Last update. I know a lot of you have been waiting, so I am getting right into it. Lauren got served at her job on a Wednesday. A process server walked into the chiropractic office and handed her the papers in front of Catherine and the staff. I chose her workplace on purpose. Lauren had spent months building an image there. The put-together wife with the stable life. That image died in 30 seconds. She tried calling me 11 times that afternoon. I did not pick up. I wanted her to read every page and understand this was not a negotiation. She drove to the apartment that evening. She threw the papers on the kitchen table and told me I was destroying our marriage over some Reddit posts. I told her she destroyed it the day she wrote them. She said every married person vents and I was blowing it out of proportion. I told her venting is telling a friend your husband is annoying, not posting publicly that you fake every smile and are waiting to trade up. She said I read her posts for months like a stalker instead of talking to her like an adult. I told her she posted for months like someone who despises me while eating food I paid for in an apartment I rented. Lauren switched tactics. She said she wrote those things during a low point and didn't mean it. I asked about the post from 3 hours before. She told me she loved me. The one about leaving a marriage without a financial gap. She went quiet. I asked about the comment calling our car payment celebration sad. She said it was out of context. I asked what context makes it okay to call your husband pathetic while he works overtime to pay off your car. No answer. Then she brought up Pauline. She said Pauline had been in her ear for years saying she married below her potential, and she knew it was wrong to listen, but Pauline was her mother, and it was complicated. I told her Lauren was a grown adult who typed her own words and hit post with her own hands. Nobody forced her. She asked me to pause the divorce and try counseling. I said no. She asked for time to find a place. I told her the lease terminates in May and she had the same 60 days I gave the landlord. She asked how she was supposed to afford an apartment on her income. I told her to ask Pauline, since Pauline had been planning Lauren's exit for months and surely had housing figured out. The next day, Pauline drove up and came to the apartment while I was packing boxes. She told me I was being vindictive and punishing Lauren for being honest about her feelings. I told Pauline I had screenshots of every conversation Benjamin relayed. Every time she told Lauren to speed up her exit, called me financially useless, coached Lauren on securing assets. Pauline asked what Benjamin told me. I said everything. She said Benjamin had no right to share private family conversations. I told her she had no right to strategize the destruction of my marriage while I paid her daughter's bills. Pauline tried another angle. She said she only pushed Lauren because she worried about her daughter's future. Any mother would do the same. I told her most mothers don't coach their daughters to fake a marriage for financial security while searching for a replacement. She said I was twisting her words. I told her I was quoting them back because Benjamin was very specific, and his texts matched the timeline of Lauren's Reddit post perfectly. She called Benjamin a liar. I told her that was between her and her son, but the evidence lined up. Pauline left that afternoon. By end of April, I moved out completely. The landlord confirmed Lauren never submitted a lease application. Her car insurance lapsed when my policy canceled. She moved into Pauline's house first week of May, sleeping on a pull-out couch because the spare bedroom was occupied by an aunt. Benjamin told me Pauline and Lauren fought constantly. Pauline blaming Lauren for letting things get this far. Lauren blaming Pauline for pushing a strategy that backfired. The divorce finalized fast. No kids, no shared property. Lauren's attorney tried arguing spousal support based on income difference. My attorney presented her Reddit posts. Strategic patience, transitioning relationships, hiding assets. As evidence, she planned to leave for financial gain. The request was denied. Last I heard from Benjamin, Lauren is still at Pauline's. They barely speak. Pauline blames Lauren. Lauren blames Pauline. Neither blames themselves. My phone had 47 missed calls the night it finalized. Lauren, Pauline, and Catherine. I answered none of them. I paid off that car loan and felt proud. She called me pathetic for it. Now she sleeps on her mother's couch driving that same car with no insurance. I am in my own apartment, debt-free, with my name on nothing that belongs to either of them. The car loan was the last thing I ever paid for Lauren. It was also how I found out who she really was. Lauren, standing in that kitchen saying, "You're destroying our marriage over some Reddit posts," is maybe the most revealing sentence in this entire story, because she still doesn't get it. Even at the end, even with divorce papers in her hand, she thinks the problem was that he found the posts, not that she wrote them. She genuinely believes that if he had never opened that iPad, everything would be fine. And in her mind, it would have been. She'd still be on that couch, still faking smiles, still cashing in on a man she despised, still scrolling Reddit planning her upgrade. The marriage wasn't destroyed by the discovery. The marriage was already a corpse. He just stopped pretending to ventilate it. And her excuse cycle in that final conversation is a masterclass in someone who has never been held accountable for anything. It starts with minimizing. Every married person vents. When that doesn't work, it's recontextualizing. It was a low point, I didn't mean it. When that fails, it's deflection. Pauline was in my ear. And when she runs out of other people to blame, it's the victim flip. You read my post like a stalker. Every single response is designed to move responsibility anywhere except onto herself. She's not sorry she did it. She's sorry it stopped working. Pauline blaming Lauren. Lauren blaming Pauline. That's the ending this story was always heading toward because relationships built on exploitation don't survive the moment there's nothing left to exploit. They weren't a mother-daughter team. They were co-conspirators, and co-conspirators always turn on each other when the job falls apart. Pauline didn't love Lauren enough to give her honest guidance, and Lauren didn't respect herself enough to reject the manipulation. They used each other the same way they used him, as tools for a life neither of them was willing to build on their own. The spousal support denial is chef's kiss. Her own words, typed voluntarily, posted publicly, time-stamped, became the evidence that buried her case. Strategic patience. That phrase didn't just describe her marriage. It described her entire approach to this man's existence. And his attorney handed it to a judge.